are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop post-game reaction show, and we are here to talk about that game that transpired yesterday evening as the Auburn Tigers lost to Ole Miss. What I'm going to say 28-14 because of a garbage time touchdown, but the box score does say 28-21, and a very, very ugly, god-awful, hideous offensive performance from the entire offense. But I'm mostly going to put the blame on the coaches in this one because that play calling was god-awful. But I'm here joined today with Mr. Harrison Tarr and Daniel Locke. Tarr, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm good. Just got home just a little while ago from the plains. Laid down, took me a little siesta. Great trip to Auburn. As always, great to see the Auburn family. Great to see my Auburn family. Great to spend time with Daniel Locke, staying in his home full abode. And just so we could remember what it felt like to pass the ball. We played a little pickup football last night. And, there's no running the ball in pickup football. So just slung the rock around. It was nice to remember that it's plausible to throw a football in any football game ever. But I had a good weekend, so I'm glad to be back. We'll talk about Auburn ball first. But Daniel, how are you?
Tarr, I'm doing great. Dylan, good to see you. Miss you this weekend. Looking forward to seeing you next weekend. Had a great time hanging with everyone. Just a real good time. Always is. For those of you who tuned into our Instagram stories yesterday to see me kind of take behind the scenes of covering an Auburn game, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. I had fun doing it. Would definitely be down to do it again at some point. I didn't have to watch a Saints game today. Thank God. Got that disappointment out of the way
On
Thursday night. So I took that time today to read Captain Underpants and the Attack the Talking Toilets, a classic.
A classic of sorts.
An absolute
I thoroughly enjoyed getting to take that in today.
That's right. Dylan, I know we're going to start with some with the positives here in just a second, but before we do so, I want to say hey to everybody hanging out on the stream. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Teresa, James, Prince Major. That's I'm not sure if has Prince been in this
yeah, he joined. He was a part of the last week's stream. And Teresa, meet.
Yeah, that's great. There you go. How are you guys? Our usual suspects hanging out here with us on the College Loop. Make sure you go ahead and throw your game thoughts in there. Go ahead. This is a large sounding board for a lot of Auburn angry Auburn fans.
Like we are the message board podcast.
So that's completely fine. So glad to have everybody here hanging out here on the College Loop podcast. Make sure you share with your friends, and we'll try to get this live as big as we can. We're going to start with the positives, which probably won't take very long. And then we're going to break down a lot of things here and kind of get everybody's take on what exactly went wrong yesterday. Because it wasn't everything, but there are a lot of things that Auburn fans are justifiably PO'd about. So if you're hanging out with us here on the live chat, make sure you go ahead and throw those in there. I see Teresa's already going in, and go ahead and listing her grievances. Teresa, keep going. Sounding board here. This is a safe place. Everybody, just know that. So make sure you sound off, and we'll make sure we get to y'all's comments and questions here in just a little bit. We're going to open up first with the positives, and I'll go ahead and open up to the beginning here. The layup answer, folks. I know that Ole Miss scored 28. Auburn's defense played really, really good football, and I'm going to let you guys run from there. Dylan, you want first?
Crowd was great.
What'd you say, Daniel?
Crowd was great. A lot of false starts forced on Ole Miss, and Ole Miss just was definitely not the more disciplined team. 10 penalties to Auburn's 7. I mean, 7's still a lot. And I don't know. It's kind of hard to find positives outside of the defense holding one of the best offenses in the SEC to 28 points. Probably one of the tougher offenses you'll face this year.
And forcing Jackson Dart to throw a pick.
They did.
That was good. That was good coverage, by the way.
And their holder threw a pick too.
The holder did throw a pick.
Yeah, don't forget that either.
Yeah. Those are two things that did happen. But honestly, I feel like one kind of positive, not just from this game, but from the last 3 weeks, even though they've all been lost games, is that Auburn has played arguably 3 of the toughest teams they'll take on this year. It gets easier from here for a while. Obviously, you play Alabama on November 25th, but they're beatable. I still think, even at this point, Auburn's 3-4, I still think that can be a game. In fact, my prediction for now, I think Auburn's going to I think they're going to win out going into that game. I think you beat I think you beat Mississippi State. I think you beat Vandy. I think you beat Arkansas because Arkansas is just not looking good.
And they just fired the RC.
Do what?
They just fired Dan Enos about a couple hours ago.
Oh, you see it? That's news to me. I didn't see that.
Couldn't imagine why.
Hey, I said on the War Report earlier today that Arkansas and Auburn are like the same exact team. Well, Hugh Freeze, you have a perfect opportunity to do exactly what Arkansas did today.
Yeah. I think by the Iron Bowl, Hugh Freeze is going to be calling the plays. That's another prediction I'm going to go with. But I think Auburn doesn't lose again until the Iron Bowl. And I'm not saying they lose the Iron Bowl. That's up in the air. But Hugh Freeze will be calling the plays in that game.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Let's say taking to the positives. I mean, even the defense had times where it just looks. DJ James played his worst game.
DJ James played straight up bad football.
Exactly. This was the one game where I looked at him and I was like, dude, you were trying to play yourself out of a first round pick.
Draft pick.
Yeah. It was that bad. I mean, he looked silly at times, and this defense had found ways to make holes for the run game for Ole Miss. But just to stick with the positives first before we start getting too negative about everything. I mean, the defense found a way to shut down Ole Miss's offense after they scored 14 points, and then they made key stops. They got the ball back, and they tried their best to set this offense up. But I mean, once we get to the negatives, we're going to get into the offense. But overall, the defense played well. I mean, we saw another standout game from Marcus Harris. We saw the return of Keontae Scott supremacy. And Jalen McLeod stepped up in a big way as well. I mean, we saw – and Jason Jones was getting pressure on the quarterback. Something – like the defense was starting to do things that we have been asking them to do the entire year. And
as they continue to be a bright spot.
Exactly. And it shocks me. We just watched this offseason. We were so negative on this linebacker room. And I believe we had a pretty substantial reasoning for why we should. This linebacker room has turned into probably one of the brighter position groups on this entire team. And that's going up past the O-line. I would argue the running backs at times. I mean, the linebacker room, Austin Keys returning was huge. Dude was all over the place.
Absolutely.
Eugene Asante, he had a little bit of a rough game in coverage, but I still think Eugene Asante did what Eugene Asante does best, which is make plays. Larry Nixon stepped up after a poor performance against LSU. And all I got to say is don't let Cam Riley play football.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. And I kind of echo a lot what you're saying here. And what Daniel mentioned a minute ago, I think Daniel, you said a minute ago, it's kind of tough to see the bright spots in a game that kind of fell this way. I'm kind of with you because the defense, I think, deserves a ton of praise. And I'm going to throw one comment up super, super quickly. And guys, if I know this comment's super recent, so I don't want you guys to feel like we're going to skip over the other ones. But
we have 8 other ones starred.
Yeah, don't worry, we have a bunch. We're gonna talk about. But James Barnett said, "Fellas, could some of the defensive guys playing bad have anything to do with the poor play on the offense? In your opinion?" Excuse me, that was tough for me to get out there, James. Thank you for the question. Thank you for always contributing, by the way, folks. Auburn's defense. It wasn't a perfect game. It wasn't. They were pretty damn lights out, and you cannot continue to give the ball to a Lane Kiffin, Jackson Dart-led offense and expect to hold them to nil. It doesn't work. It's not. It's statistically damn near impossible to do so on an offense that is just lighting people up. You held them to 28. Actually, 28. Holding Ole Miss to 28 points should win you the ball game. Period. Ole Miss also, let's not forget, tried to hand Auburn this ball game on a couple of occasions.
They did everything possible, and the Auburn offense just said, "You know what? Nah, you can have it."
Yeah, and we're going to get there here in a second. But, James, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you can't expect these guys to get 2 minutes rest after having to fight like dogs because, let's be honest, guys, stopping Ole Miss from moving the sticks it's not very feasible. There were a handful of 3-and-outs. I have to look. I know I got the notes in front of me on how many 3-and-outs Auburn forced. But Ole Miss is going to move the ball. Forcing them into turning the ball over into punting is a huge, tremendous success. It's hard to do it in 3 downs and then go turn around and watch your offense do the same damn thing, and you're right back where you started. I think it has everything to do with the offense.
And at times it was hard to stop Ole Miss's offense on 3rd and longs and 2nd and longs due to some messed up plays. But We are now
what happened when you have a Quinshon Judkins in the backfield,
and you let Jackson Dart convert after Cam Riley missed a sack. But Auburn has now played their 7th game. They have only won the time of possession battle in one of those games, and that was against Georgia, and they still lost that game. But nonetheless, Auburn has yet to have led in time of possession whatsoever, and that kind of goes to the fact that this offense has just been horrendously bad to start off this year, and if bad is an understatement, horrendously inconsistent.
Yeah, I agree.
You cannot go, even if Auburn is favored in 3 of the next 5 games, the last 5 games being Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and New Mexico State, and you're not favored against Arkansas, and that
Definitely
might
not favored against Alabama.
You're not favored against Alabama in the slide. Don't look at ESPN FPI if you think there's any hope for Auburn to win that game right now, because ESPN FPI is not very kind. But if you want to win these games, Vanderbilt is a scrappy team. They have shown that. Arkansas is just Auburn, but red. That is what I've been watching from their film. And I can go and tell you, if KJ Jefferson transferred to Auburn, Auburn's offense is like decent. Maybe even in the good category, just for having a quarterback who can do what both quarterbacks do well.
Can't say that yet. I can tell you why. We'll get there in a minute.
Well, Kendall Briles found a way to get KJ Jefferson like on top of everybody's list, and Danny knows who got fired. Did not. I do think that if Auburn got a guy who could do both things, they would fix a lot of problems. But in the Mississippi State, they played football on Saturday.
They did. They played a game of football.
There was something that went on.
Mm-hmm.
This defense has been playing way better than we expected it to, and at times we give the defense a lot of flack for them messing up certain plays. But at what point can your defense just be just annoyed by the fact that it's, hey, look, we stopped them on 3rd down. Let's go. Let's get off the field. Let's get rested up. Let's get ready for the next drive. And then 3 plays later,
you hadn't even had time to take a drink of water yet.
The Gatorade bottle ain't even to me yet. What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. Before we get into the negatives, and this is when we're really going to start harping now, I want to remind everybody, if you're hanging out on the stream, make sure you drop your comments. We're going to get to everybody. If you have something to say, we're going to make sure you're heard, because we appreciate all of your support. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell while you're hanging out with us. I'm going to bring on friend of the program, John Conley. He's hanging out backstage. We're going to see if he can give anybody here any glimmer of happiness from this game. After texting with him yesterday, I feel like those chances are slim, but I'll bring him on the stage now. And Mr. John Conley, welcome to the College Loop Reaction Show. How are you, my friend?
Mr. 7-3.
What's up, guys? I'm
defeating the narrative this week, huh?
That's right. We're changing a whole bunch of narratives. Unfortunately, not many on the Auburn side of the football, but for my predictions, I broke the curse. Got one from back-to-back weeks of 6-4. I'm now in the 7-3 club with everyone else.
Proud of you.
Yep. I have to thank what's the
Mario Cristobal?
Yeah, Mario Cristobal, the quarterback, Cade Klubnik. Got to thank him for pulling when he shouldn't have.
That's right.
And just having an absolute disaster of a 4th down in OT. But no, I'm excited to be here. I really am, and I'm excited to break down this game that I have a lot of thoughts and emotions on.
Let's start with the upbeat side. Where's the silver lining here? We've been talking about the defense. If you want to kind of chime in on that as well, go right ahead. We are almost capped out on time for how many nice things we can say about this game. So go ahead, and you don't have to be that in depth for your highlights. And then we're going to get into, there is an elephant in the room we've all got to address.
Yeah. No, I mean, this defense, I thought, played one of their best games, if not maybe their best game of the season. Keontae Scott came in and played fantastic in his first game back. I thought he played really well. Larry Nixon played really well. Eugene Asante made some good plays. A big part of it is when you're a defense, you can make so many good plays, but over time, if you're just constantly having to be on the field and you're constantly, especially, again, we talk about this team and how well they love to establish the run. They had, I think, 230 rushing yards total on the Ole Miss side of the football. 223 rushing yards. Over time, that's just going to break you down. And I thought, this was really close going into it. This was really close, really all the way up until the 4th quarter, and then it kind of slipped away. It really felt like, okay, this is it. We've kind of put the nail in the coffin here. And it was just because the defense just had to keep going on the field and keep going on the field and had to keep trying to stop Quinshon Judkins and Ulysses Bennett. And it was just eventually something's got to give. You can bend so much before eventually you just break.
Yeah. I think you put a perfect summary on it. And the gist is the defensive side of the ball has been fine, like above fine. The offensive side is, well, now it's time to bitch.
Tarr, you want to hear what I heard, what Ike and B. Will said or compared to season 2?
Do I?
They said the season is very 2016.
They're so right.
Like Auburn's going to finish like ugly 8-5.
And go like a
ugly. Yeah, it's gonna.
That bill's on the table. All right, folks. It's time to grieve. It's time to gripe. It's time to bitch about everything that happened on Saturday on the other side of the football. I'm going to start here. And I'm not going to screen hog, I promise. I'm not going to take up all the time here. But, folks, in my opinion, what we witnessed was not a Peyton Thorne problem. It was not a Robbie Ashford problem. It was not an offensive line problem. It wasn't entirely a wide receiver problem. This one's on Hugh Freeze. And this one's not, it sure as hell is on Philip Montgomery, but that's ultimately, Philip Montgomery's not the head coach at Auburn, thank God. At some point, you have to stop and look at what's going on and what the common denominator is. And I'm going to be honest, we're going to talk about the quarterback situation in a little bit. I know, I get that. It's going to be a recurring theme all year. Like Dylan said, it's freaking 2016 all over again. But I guess as it relates to the Auburn loss to Ole Miss, it doesn't have a damn thing to do with the quarterback play. It just doesn't. This offensive scheme has no identity. It is not built upon tempo, having no establishment of rhythm. There is no commitment to try to pass the damn football in any capacity until apparently your backs are against the wall and you want to score a garbage time touchdown when it's important that you have to make the score look prettier. That's what we saw on Saturday. Because what I saw on Saturday was a circumstance where Hugh Freeze had the opportunity of quite possibly his entire coaching career to step up and say, hey, I have got a personal vendetta against the guys across the field. Damn it, we are in a position to beat them. All we got to do is stick with a clear identity and have a true plan on the offensive side of the ball. I would like to talk to Philip Montgomery and have him convince me that there was one. Because, fellas, I really don't think there was. Committing to running the football with this running back room, I get it. It should be run to pass, and I understand. And I know a lot of people are going to, pull the whole Ashford. We're going to talk about Robbie and Peyton Thorne, and damn it, 9 should have played all game. I'm there. But a lot of people are going to talk about Ashford Thorne. Peyton Thorne played fine. He did everything you asked him to do. The problem is you didn't ask him to do anything. I got a lot of problems with Hugh Freeze specifically in this one. No, it is not time to fire Hugh Freeze. That I saw some dumbasses say that on Twitter. You folks need to understand program stability. That's got to come number one.
But it is time to fire Phil Montgomery.
It is time to fire Phil Montgomery. And Hugh Freeze needs to wear this one on the chin because this is an embarrassing loss for him and his offensive mastermind coaching record. All right, gentlemen, where do we start?
I think we start with quarterbacks. It's going to be probably the lengthiest of the position groups on this offense.
No. I already told you where we're starting. I was saying where you're going to pick this apart. We're going to quarterbacks next. I promise.
Oh, okay. Just coaching?
I want to talk about play calling and coaching.
All right. So I don't know who has it in their playbook. I know Phil Montgomery has a Peyton Thorne playbook, and Hugh Freeze has the Robbie Ashford playbook. Here's the thing about an offensive coordinator and a coach. They should have one playbook, and then you have packages within that playbook for certain players to go in. If you were going to start Robbie Ashford, I'm going to get the play calling in a second because I have an awesome play call we're going to talk about for a little bit. If you're going to start Robbie Ashford, give him the starting offense. Give him Jarquez Hunter. Give him Shane Hooks. Give him Jay Fair. Give him Rivaldo Fairweather. Don't throw him out there with Tyler Fromm, Luke Deal, which those are great tight ends. Give him Valdo. Don't give him Coy Moore. Don't give him Javarius Johnson. Give him Shane Hooks. Give him Jay Fair. If you were going to prove to me that you don't like to play Robbie Ashford, how about you prove it on the field by giving him the players, and instead of dooming him to fail with your second string offense, even though this offense already isn't good, don't give him the second string offense and try to tell me that Robbie Ashford isn't the best quarterback on the roster by doing that. And even though neither quarterback played bad. Neither quarterback played bad. But you were setting both of them up to fail in the positions you were putting them in. You have the most accurate passer of the two, and just to hand the ball off. And then like you said, garbage time, he's actually like throwing good balls, good plays were called. Quick passes that tore up Ole Miss's defense in garbage time. And then you had Robbie Ashford running the same 3 RPO plays, which 2 of those were just the same play, but one was to the left, one was to the right.
And once you called it one way and Robbie went the other way, but that's neither here nor there.
Jarquez went the other way. They blocked the right way.
Anyways, let's.
But the double pass needs to be talked about.
We're going to talk about the double pass in a second. I want to give John and Daniel the opportunity to chime in on play calling here. We'll go to Mr. Conley. Daniel, you're up next. John, how abysmal was the offensive play calling and why? And where are your grievances? Be as mean as you want, because I'm not holding back tonight.
Whenever I want to look at the way the team's built and the way that a coach is built, I want to look at specifically what is the head coach's strength. You know, if the new, I'm going to zoom out and go to like the NFL, for instance. If the New York Jets have a really bad offensive performance, I don't put that squarely on Robert Saleh because he's a defensive head coach, right? If the defense for the Niners is just abysmal, I don't put that on Kyle Shanahan because he's not the defensive coach. But when your strong suit, when you're like what you're tailored to as a head coach is the part of the team that's struggling and that isn't working, that's where problems begin to arise. And Hugh Freeze, not really known for being a defensive mastermind, but he's known for being this RPO innovative, offensive genius, quote unquote. And we haven't seen it. QB whisperer, all these things, and we've yet to see it. We haven't seen stability. We haven't seen any form of consistency. And Harrison, you brought it up, but I said it in the pregame show. My big key for this team, find a rhythm, because there hasn't been one, not all year. And part of when you have a rhythm, you stick with one guy. And having one quarterback, one guy that's going to throw the football or run the football or whatever you want to do, but roll with it. I'm sorry, like it drives me nuts to see, Robbie coming for 4 plays and then Peyton and then Robbie and then Peyton. Because guess what? That's going to mess up your whole offense. That's going to mess up the 2 of them. There were several times where Robbie Ashford came in off of something that Peyton Thornton did, and then Robbie's going to the sideline and is talking to Hugh Freeze about it. And you can clearly see he's frustrated. He doesn't really know what's going on because part of it is him and his offensive line, him and his center. That's a big thing. I don't think people really talk about enough. They're not on key with one another. They're not in rhythm. They're not going anywhere. And that's where tons and tons and tons of problems arise. And so for me, defensively, it's fine. If you have a bad defensive game as Hugh Freeze and as that team, you can, I understand you can justify it to me, because that's not your side of the ball that you should be focused on. But you're an offensive-minded head coach, and the offense is the biggest struggle that we've had all season. And it's absolutely it's mind-boggling. And the things that you allow Philip Montgomery to do and just give him the green light for it and say, go for it, that falls squarely on him. You said it, he should take it on the chin. I think this loss falls squarely on Hugh Freeze because Ole Miss did everything they could to give you this win. Penalty after penalty after penalty, just miscue after miscue. They give you everything you could have, and you had nothing to show for it.
Yeah, gifted a victory and left it sitting under the tree. Daniel, there's a lot of people talking, and I mean a lot. It's the narrative. You know this. You're not naive. I don't have to mansplain about Auburn's just apparent lack of concern about throwing the ball on Saturday. And guys, it's not. Like, that's not a crazy statement. Why has Auburn made no effort to maybe at this point you just need to throw to open up the run game? What are we missing, Daniel?
Well, you can't, kind of like you said, you can't just stick in this little cycle of running the same 6 plays over and over and over again. Like we were talking about it at like 3:00 this morning about how many times do we see Jarquez Hunter run around left end and get 3 yards? Like that, you can do that against UMass and Samford, but you can't do that in SEC play, especially against one of the better teams you'll face this season. And as far as, I don't really know. I mean, I would like to see them open up the passing game more, but if the quarterbacks, we aren't at practice. I'm at practice for 20 minutes out of the week, and that's on Tuesdays during unit drills. So what I see at practice is very, very not what's happening at all. But maybe the quarterbacks just flat out cannot handle an opened up passing playbook beyond what they already have. And as far as opening the running game up, like all of our running backs will break off huge runs. It happened. Every single one's got one this year. So yeah, maybe they should open that up more if they're not going to throw the ball. But you've got to do something.
I think my biggest question here, fellas, and for those of you guys watching at home, give me your takes. Why is this such a complicated concept? It is not like you are moving Auburn from a triple option offense to a spread offense. It is not like Auburn's not been a run first spread, still be able to implement the vertical pass traditionally. This is not new. For the returning personnel, it's not new. And damn it, for Peyton, it's not new either.
No, this is what Peyton's done for the last 2 years at Michigan State. And it is pretty frustrating to see that, what he's done and what he's done well with, just all of a sudden he comes down here and just doesn't have it. And kind of another thing that, because I know this was kind of, I think, the last question that you asked John, but a change in who is making the play calls needs to come, and it needs to come now.
It needed to come weeks ago.
Right. I don't know if that's, Freeze just needs to take over, kind of like Gus did in 2018. Or if, I feel like regardless of if they fire Phil Montgomery or not, that's what needs to happen.
Phil Montgomery's not getting canned before the end of the season, by the way. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. But I could see Freeze taking the reins.
Absolutely. Who is it that made the great analogy? I think it was you, Daniel, a couple weeks ago, about when you were in high school, your dad taking your keys because you broke the rules.
Yep.
That was you?
Yep.
Okay. Hugh Freeze needs to take the keys from the offense away from Phil Montgomery. And does that mean you have somebody on payroll that doesn't actually do their job? It happens in corporate America all the time. It's fine. Okay.
Sure
it happened last year.
Yeah. It's not new. All right. That's not a foreign concept. But the keys need to be taken. I mean, if you want to step up and try to save some face, and I saw some comments under this show earlier about the Hugh Freeze's support with the fan base, which can vary. This fan base we know is they're going to let you know how they feel. But at the same time, you got to do something. And right now, it kind of doesn't feel like we're seeing any kind of commitment to trying to win ball games. I'm going to be honest, guys.
If you listen to most of Hugh Freeze's pressers, he has it sounds like he's already quietly chalked up the season. He said on multiple occasions, like, we don't have the guys right now to win the games that we want to win. Give me time to, and he's like, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your expectations up. Don't hope that we're going to win a lot of games this year. I mean, you're pretty much just saying that your first season is kind of a bust when you say stuff like that.
He did inherit a dumpster fire, and I'm not naive to that. Nobody in this room, and most diehard fans that pay close attention are not naive to that. That's why I don't think anyone here is on the fire freeze narrative. Folks, it's going to be 2025, 2026 before I start saying we should be critical. I'm just going to be honest. You got to have program stability. But I think that a lot of people understand that year one's going to be rough. damn it, I want you to make it look like you're trying.
Yeah.
I want to believe that there is a definitive game plan week to week. You don't have to explain the X's and O's to me because it's not your responsibility to explain to me, the common fan, or even respectfully, the media. It's not your responsibility to explain what your install was. It's just not. But we need to be able to see something on the field that would convince us to say at least they're trying to win the damn ball game. At least they're trying to stay competitive. Because I'll be honest with you, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it really hasn't felt that way. Let's talk about the quarterback position. Let's do it. I mean, we got to, right? It's the elephant in the room. I saw a fantastic comment earlier. I'm going to scroll up and see if I can find it. I know you started, but Dylan, but we got a bazillion started now, which is great. That's great. We're going to come back to all of them. I promise, guys. About the whole principle that starting Robbie Ashford was just a crowd pleaser. And I think that has teeth. If I'm going to be candid, I think there's traction to that narrative. Let's talk about, Latanya brought up a great point. Hugh Freeze starting Robbie was just to please the crowd, nothing more. Freeze about to lose the fans. The second part of that question, leave it starred, we'll come back. Not ready to go there yet. But Latanya brought up a great point here, folks. I think there's some real traction to that concept. Starting with Daniel. Is there a recipe where you can keep implementing both of these guys and stay competitive in ball games? Or is it time to just say, all right, Thorne's had his chance. Let's give Ashford his chance. Or hell, let's give the ball to Gerner, because apparently that was something they were interested in trying into a trick play, which was a boneheaded mistake, by the way.
Yeah, throw that play away.
We're coming back to that play. Is there even an answer, Daniel?
Well, to kind of like go from the bottom up there, Garner's not ready. If Garner was able to even potentially be competent and lead this offense, that avenue would have been discussed by now. And if that one play that we're referring to is, if that's going to sum up what Garner's going to do, leave me out. I don't want to see that ever again. Personally,
Agree.
I've kind of already mentally said goodbye to Garner. I think once the portal opens up, he's going to dip out.
Absolutely.
I can't say I blame him. I just don't think he's part of the long-term plan for Auburn at this point. But I don't know. I was hoping that – I said this after Georgia. I said this after Ole Miss. I said this after LSU, and I'm saying it after Ole Miss. I was really hoping that we would know more about what's going on at quarterback now, and we should with 7 games under our belt, but we just don't. We don't know what's going on.
Over halfway through your season.
Yes. I don't really have a definitive answer to your question. I can't confidently say that, okay, it's time to just see what Robbie can do. Even though, like Dylan said, it can't be any worse. So if you want to try that, I mean, I could get on board with that.
At least you're trying.
On the other hand, sure. Robbie's always going to have a position in the offense. He's just too athletic not to, like Freeze has said from the very beginning. So I don't want it to be all Thorne, even if Thorne's balling out, because there are just things that Robbie can do well that he can't. Like, he can scramble if he needs to, and he can break off some big runs, but that's Robbie's bread and butter and something he's very gifted at. But I don't know. I know that was just a very long-winded answer to just come back to an I don't know, but that's kind of where I'm at on that.
That's okay. Conley, I'm sorry that we've subjected you to your first in-depth watching season of Auburn football. And that
he's starting to say we. I caught that a little bit.
Yeah. Anyways, I really do apologize, but since you're here, let's talk for a second about this quarterback position, because we know where Dylan stands. That's why Dylan's going last. But what's the recipe? Because it cannot be, you cannot switch quarterbacks within the span of 4 downs on a routine basis. What's it got to be?
You've got to just stick with one. And I think the big thing that you have to do if you're Hugh Freeze and you're Phil Montgomery is you have to just make the public statement. This is our starter moving forward. We're not changing unless we absolutely have to. I think that's one thing they've kind of been like, well, Thorne's going to start, but we're definitely going to incorporate Robbie. Have one guy. You mentioned a lot, but the quote does come from John Madden. If you have two quarterbacks, you actually have none. They're playing with like one Peyton Thorne, 3/4 of a Robbie Ashford, and like 1/4 of a Holden Gariner. And right now it's not working. And there's nothing really that you can incorporate there to fix that other than just find your guy and just stick with it. And again, I don't care if it's Peyton Thorne at this point. I don't care if it's Robbie Ashford. As much as Hugh Freeze says, or as Daniel kind of alluded to, thinks that Hugh Freeze might just checked out and said that this season's a wash. And if that's the case, then why are we doing all of this just weird experimenting? I think you just see if you can find something and maybe, salvage this season if you can. I still think, you can still win 3-4 more games on this schedule. I do think it's possible. I think you can get 6, 7, 8 wins, go crazy and do something like that. But find a guy and just be unequivocally supportive of that guy being the starter. Just not even allude to, well, you could use this guy in this packages and these guys in that packages. Just have a guy that you can stick with for all 4 downs, for multiple drives at a time. And yes, you could throw some trickery in there. You can incorporate a different quarterback for a certain play or for here or for that. Use a wildcat and do, some small things. But if it's first, second down, Peyton Thorne, third down, Robbie Ashford, every single drive, and then it's first down, Robbie Ashford, second down, Peyton Thorne, third down, back to Robbie Ashford. What are we doing? There's no consistency going on. And so to me, the 2 quarterback system that they want to try to run, that's dead and gone. I think you have to just find your guy, regardless of who it is. I've been adamant of I'm not going to stick to one specific guy. I'm just going to give you whoever I think gives you the best chance to win. But whoever it is, just be openly and unequivocally supportive of he's our starter moving forward. And if we need to make a change, we need to make a change, we will. But I'm not doing this every 3 plays, another quarterback in for 2 plays. And it's going to drive me nuts.
I love that answer. I think you nailed it. And Dylan, I'll be honest with you. We've got a lot of comments to get to. We do. And we're going to jump there in a second. I'm only not asking you about the which quarterback versus which quarterback because everybody and their brother knows it's Robbie Ashford for you. And that's okay. I'm not shaming. I know you're the Robbie Ashford truther. What we're talking about right now is mismanagement of quarterback rotations.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, if you're looking at it, you let Robbie Ashford start and you bring up the fact that it's and LaTanya brought up that it was like a crowd pleaser, which yes, it was. And I'm pretty sure it got most of the fan base riled up. Okay, cool. We are doing something different because we have been week in, week out, just tired of watching what they were putting on the field. And then you throw out Peyton Thorne. And then you do another drive, Robbie Ashford comes back out. Then you do Peyton Thorne. And then you do Robbie Ashford for 2 plays and Peyton Thorne for another. And then you do Peyton Thorne for 2 plays and Robbie Ashford goes in for another. You're not confusing defenses. You're confusing your own players more so. They know what they're going to run no matter what. They know what formations you run. They ran the same 5 plays last night. They know what you're going to run. Why not just have one guy out there, whether that be Peyton Thorne or Robbie Ashford? Pick one guy, run with it. And if you want to do Peyton Thorne, fine. If you want to do Peyton Thorne, have Red Zone Robbie still popping off. And now that since I said it, I got to throw it up there on the thing. Red Zone Robbie, throw him up there. If you want to do that, like you did with UMass, that's fine. At least you're setting some kind of standard up for your offense to reach. Okay, Peyton Thorne's going to play within the 20s, but then Robbie Ashford can get you in the end zone from the 20. Why switch out? Because you're not doing anything but hurting your own team. There are other targets out there than besides your own foot. I don't understand a quarterback guru, a self-proclaimed quarterback guru, being that. He said it several times. And we're watching 2 guys who apparently are offensive masterminds, at least from this season's. I'm going to put the air quotes up. Maybe next year I can take away the air quotes. Just throw out guys. And I think there was one drive where it was Robbie Ashford 2 plays. Peyton Thorne goes in. And then it was a offsides, 5 yards on. It was like 3rd and 6. Then it was 3rd and 1. Robbie goes back out after just got taken out. What are you? You're also hurting the confidence of these guys. Okay, you don't trust me on 3rd downs. Cool. What's the point of playing me if you don't trust me? And then Robbie Asher gotten told Hugh Freeze, hey, I review this play. I don't think that was that or what. And I watched Hugh Freeze signal he just completely just gave up on Robbie on a play. And that was one of the last few times I saw Robbie play the rest of the game. And it was just Robbie, or it was just Hugh Freeze getting his playbook and just kind of swiping it towards get back to the bench to Robbie Asher. Are you just losing faith in both the guys that you've spent nothing but the entire offseason just kind of preaching about how hopeful and proud of how they played are and how close of a quarterback battle this was? Do something to prove that you at least want to win some games. It's not this is not like the NFL where if you win some games that you're not supposed to, it hurts your draft picks. Winning can only help. And I understand that this was actually the environment of this game actually helped a lot of recruits. I've read the quotes from a lot of these guys. Ryan Williams even talked about how Auburn did a very good job trying to get to him. He's a 5-star 2025 Bama commit. The recruiting is it's going to happen regardless, but we say it all the time. The best recruiting strategy you could possibly implement is winning football games. If you
I argue winning games that you're not supposed to helps you even more.
Exactly. If you win this game, it really boosts up your stock to these recruits. And to me, whenever I read some of these recruits' comments, it sounds like Hugh Freeze is in there telling them hey, we suck this year. We don't have the players, so come here next year, and then you're gonna play. Which is a good strategy to implement, saying that your team sucks if you're a bottom feeder in a conference. Auburn's a top 15 program in college football history. Auburn, nothing about this team screams we don't have the talent to win games like this.
Agreed.
Nothing. A team that loses by 7 to Georgia should be beating teams like Ole Miss.
Right. I agree. I'm going to kind of close the quarterback conversation there, folks, and we're going to get to Mr. Conley's very first Q&A with listeners of the College Loop. It's my favorite part of the entire week is getting to actually have those kind of conversations. Before we do so, I'm going to just ask you guys very politely, if you're hanging out here with us and you've not already subscribed to the channel, please, I'm asking nicely. Colin's not here because he's fasting because you guys won't get us to 700 subs. I'm lying. You guys are the best. We really, really appreciate you guys. Just make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, share with a friend. Make sure we're building the Loop army as large as we possibly can. We're gearing up to take over the entire world. So before we get into your questions, your comments, which continue to drop those in the chat, we've got a lot to get through, which is beautiful. It's a great problem to have. If you feel so inclined and you want to support the College Loop in more ways than just subscribing, you can head over to thewarreport.com, www.thewarreport.com. Pick up your very own College Loop War Report Podcast Network, co-branded. Feeling Loopy t-shirt comes in 5 different colors and ways, only $25. Mr. John Conley picked up his very own this week because he's an absolute dog. You can own one as well. Be just like John. Pick up the Feeling Loopy College Loop War Report co-branded t-shirt on thewarreport.com. If you want to type in the search bar, great. If you don't, you can also just click on the link in the description. Once you purchase that t-shirt, make sure you go onto Twitter and use hashtag Feeling Loopy. Take a selfie of yourself, selfie of your dog, selfie of, I don't know, get creative. Whatever, skeleton, it's Halloween. I'm wearing the Feeling Loopy t-shirt, and we'll make sure we throw it up on the next stream. So thank you guys for your continued support. Let's get to y'all's questions, comments, concerns, strongly held beliefs, and demands. And all of them, I want you to all know. I want everyone to know. They're all justified. Let's get to work. Let's start strong. Prince Major. It's worse than I imagined. Hashtag free Robbie Ashford. Let's start there. These first, I think, 5 are all quarterback related. Gentlemen, I don't think people are happy. Well, this one wasn't. I'm sorry. This was Teresa saying, tired of penalties and wasted timeouts, switching QBs on third downs. Okay, this is one we hadn't talked about. I need someone to come up with a stat. It's not going to be me because I don't like torturing myself.
All right, Colin.
That's right.
If you're listening, like you should be.
To tell me how many wasted timeouts Auburn has had to use in situations where they're not forced this year.
It feels like it should be. It's probably a good amount. It's the time management of the staff has not been good. And there was a time I remember. I think was it the first drive of the game, or was it? It was one of Robbie's drives where a play just didn't get set up properly, and then Robbie had to call a timeout. And I don't even think the refs were expecting it because he had to do the and then look back at the ref behind him and do that, and then look at the sideline, just keep doing it until
Make sure someone calls it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, can someone help? Timeout. It's rough. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to open this one up. Daniel and John, get y'all's interpretation here. James Barnett, friend of the program, says that he is tired of the double standard that Auburn uses for its players, specifically at QB. I'm going to go ahead and read into this and assume that this would mean patience. How much patience should Auburn fans have? Daniel or John? Y'all go ahead.
You can go first, John.
When it comes to something like this, I think patience, you have to see it through, right? I'm going to use my alma mater as an example. Georgia Southern is going through a complete 180 change on offense. Got rid of a team that's traditionally been run the football, triple option, 300 plus rushing yards a game, to we are scrapping that and we're throwing it every single down we can. And the big thing that you have to do with it is you just have to be patient with everything, whether it comes from your offensive linemen, your quarterback, your wide receivers, your tight ends. You have to be patient. And I think one of the issues is we do get impatient at quarterback, I think the most, because it is the most important position. I think it's sports. Regardless of the sport, I think it's the most important position.
Agreed.
And so, you have to just, there's going to be ups and downs, especially whenever you're going from one offense that you had with Harsin to this. You've just got to be patient. And it's a quarterback that they're both in their first year of this system with these two play callers. So you just have to be patient. But the thing is you also have to give them a shot. You have to give whoever the quarterback is for this team, or the wide receivers or the tight ends, whoever it is, you just got to give them an opportunity. We had a 6-year transfer come in last year as our quarterback, Kyle Van Treese, out of Buffalo. And there were ups and downs. There were times where it looked really, really good. And there were times where it did not look good. And people were like, let's get our other guys in. Let's do this. Let's do that. But hey, you just have to write it out, because that's how you develop a standard and a culture and some stability that maybe won't translate right now. Maybe won't translate next year, but 2-3 years down the road, that's where you're going to see that start to unfold and start to make up and start to take form and foundation.
Agree. I think you put absolutely into words what everybody else is thinking. It's patience is a virtue. It's going to ebb and flow. Daniel, we've got a lot of quarterback questions specifically about Robbie and his opportunities that he's receiving here, and I want to get your thoughts on this. We'll open it up with what Prince Major is saying. If anyone says Robbie got a fair chance with this game, they're crazy. None of his plays have been with the first team offense. We talked about that earlier. I'm going to roll some other questions and comments that people had along these same lines about at what point can Hugh Freeze no longer defend himself for not giving Ashford a fair chance when Thorne's not getting the job done. I know that this game is kind of an outlier there because both quarterbacks did what they were asked to do, which narrator wasn't much. But how does Robbie Ashford receive his shot, if you will, in this offense?
I guess you just got to let him play more downs than Thorne with the ones. It's the most simple answer I can come up with. It looked like that might happen last night, and it just didn't. So, excuse me. Yeah, maybe we'll see that against Mississippi State.
And Dylan, Teresa mentioned if you want to switch quarterbacks, do it each driver by quarter. This is to your point earlier. Robbie gets first down on 2 a few times, and then first and 2 and a few times, then get it on 3rd, and you don't trust him. How do you rekindle? And this is open to any of you guys, but I mean, Dylan, I'll let you go ahead if you want to jump in here. How do you rekindle that trust, that sense from your quarterback that he's got trust? Because there's a lot of people talking here. I mean, Teresa mentioned again how Freeze does not see that the QB rotation affects the flow of the game is baffling. How do you reconnect with those guys? Because I think there's an element of lack of confidence too.
I mean, all you're doing is setting your entire team up to just realize, like, we have a guy who doesn't understand. He recruited all of these transfers to come in, who were all told, like, hey, we're going to do something special. And then we're told all offseason long, hey, y'all, we're going to be something special this year. Why are you going to assume that the guy who started at quarterback last year for Auburn is just going to be okay with how you're running the team. And if you're not only are you affecting Robbie by taking him out, you're affecting the team. All right, so you just throw Thorne out there, and then you take out the two of the second team offensive guys, and then you just kind of throw Thorne back out there, and then you're on 3rd and 6, just for Peyton Thorne to get sacked. You're harming the trust between the coach and the players, and this is the kind of stuff that makes players not want to play for you anymore, and will transfer out year one or not. Some of these guys realize, like, hey, I don't want to be part of a rebuilding program if I'm trying to get to the NFL in a couple of years. All you're doing is tearing down bridges with your players when you were trying to set an example, start a culture, all this other stuff. If you want to prove to the fan base and prove to the players that you're willing to change up your offensive strategy to win football games, give the offense to Robbie Ashford fully, or quit putting Robbie Ashford in and just kind of just admit that you either don't like playing him or you just don't have enough trust in him, and you can kind of kill doubters that way. Like the two quarterback system, I don't think has ever truly worked in a national scenario, and it's not going to work here, especially in year one. All you're doing is making the offense unfit to move the ball when you do that stuff. Robbie can have 2 good plays happen in a row, and then Thorne goes in and then kills it. And that's just because at some point he was like, oh, I don't think I can call any more plays for him. You're only calling 3 plays and you're giving him the second team offense. What are you expecting to happen? It's like watching A-Day. It's like, what are you expecting this like third team offense to do against the first team defense? Like that's not how starters work versus bench warmers. If Hugh Freeze wants to prove to me and to the rest of the fan base that he does not think Robbie Ashford can play quarterback, maybe let him play quarterback when he has Shane Hooks, Jay Fair, Rivaldo Fairweather, Jarquez Hunter, some of the starting offensive line, and just
this comment here.
Yeah, exactly. Like Robbie had Luke Deal, Tyler Fromm, and Brandon Frazier. Like, okay, cool. What do you expect him to do with that? What do you expect him to do with that? Get 3 yards on a PA rollout? Run the triple op, run the read option? He didn't run the RPO very much. They gave him the read option. That was it. That was all they gave him, the read option. If you want to prove to the fan base that you don't think Robbie Ashford can play quarterback, how about you let him play quarterback?
You good, brother?
No, that game annoyed me because I started off so happy. I was like, oh my God. Hugh Freeze admitted he was wrong and is going to let Robbie Ashford play football. And that he let him play a glorified running back. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I'm not gonna let you stroke out on me though, because you're about to pass out. We did get some good research done by James Barnett, by the way. 8 wasted timeouts this year, guys. 8. Someone do, what is it? 8 over 7. So someone do the math. 8 divided by 7, so we can see how many per game.
8 divided by 7.
That's like the premise, right?
To 1 point something.
It's going to be like point something.
Huh?
It'd be like 1 point, like
1.14.
Okay, yeah. So you're wasting 1.14.
Yes.
1.14 timeouts a game. That's lovely. Thank you for that, James. Thank you for reminding me.
Never mind.
Also, shout out James. He picked up a Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. Boom. Be like this guy. Be like John.
He said he needs to get one.
Oh, I read that wrong. Yes, James. Be like James. Know that you need one. I take it back. Still love having you on the show, around the show, though. You're a dog. I read that wrong. I'm sorry. My eyes are deceiving me. Hello. Let's get back to let's dog on Peyton Thorne a little bit more. People like doing that. So yeah, let's do that.
I wish we didn't have to do that. I would love it if the scout evaluation on this team worked out a little bit better than it did. But could y'all Prince, could y'all imagine what it what it would look like last year if our defense was even half as bad.
No, what it would look like if our defense was even half as bad as this offense this year. Auburn would be.
Where did I get last year from?
I have no idea. I can tell you what this would look like. Auburn would look like 2012. So that's how that would go.
Yet another season that makes me want to
jump off a bridge. It should.
Yeah.
JBSMV said Thorne doesn't have the arm strength to be consistent in the SEC. Okay. Yes. I don't know where else to go there. I mean, John, Daniel, I've been saying this for a long time now. Am I wrong? Like, I just don't think there's the guy in this room. Like, I know we're beating a dead horse here, guys, and unfortunately you're stuck with him for another 5 games with whoever the hell it is. There's not one. You're gonna have to go portal shopping. Am I wrong?
You're not.
I
mean, just find the guy for your team this year. That's all you got to find. The guy for you in 2023, and then worry about who your guy's going to be in 2024. Mm-hmm. Find the guy. It's like Spy Kids 3 game over. Find the guy.
Maybe the guy is John Conley, because James Barnett said he's spitting facts about the center and the QB being on the same page. That's whoever the quarterback's going to has to get reps with him. So John, you watched on TV. So I'll be honest with you. You probably have noticed more in depth than I have, and I haven't gone back and watched film yet. Sorry, guys, just got back from Auburn. Talk to me a little bit about that timing miscommunication. Is that just with Robbie?
No, I mean, this is something that you're going to see with both guys, and part of it is just simply because whenever even if you are Peyton Thorne and you're taking first team reps with that center, you are having to you're going from Robbie Ashford, you're getting the play call, but then we talked about it, you're wasting the timeouts, right? You're losing so much time off the play clock and your play calling ability with swapping out when you're going from Ashford back to Thorne, that when you do that, like, yes, if you're an offensive lineman, you're looking for like the first few words to know whether or not it's a run play, it's a pass play, if you're going to be in shotgun, kind of, those things. So like as a center, you're only listening to those few words, but it also could be coming in at a much different time. It could be, crunched in because you got to get a play in. It's ticking because you got to swap out your quarterback situation. You had to make substitutions that you didn't want to make, or like you wouldn't have made if you had the same quarterback playing, right? And so part of that timing issue and getting on track is, yes, it primarily you're going to see it more with Robbie Ashford because he's not taking snaps with the starting center. But with Peyton Thorne, you're still going to see it in game because he's on the sideline for maybe 2 plays or so. He's getting used to what you're running, that tempo that you're running with Ashford, and then you're doing a complete 180 whenever Thorne comes back in.
Okay. I can't wait to rewatch that on film. Thank you for pointing that out to me, John. That's going to make me want to bang my head in the wall.
I want to skip this film session.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna watch this one for sure. Let's jump on another narrative here, boys. Yeah.
I'll say positives. Connor Olu played good.
Positives. James Barnett's getting a Feeling Loopy shirt as soon as we end the show. That's a huge positive.
All right, that's the end of the show.
Everyone be just like James. Yeah, show's over. Sorry about that. You think James said. Let's hop on this narrative that a lot of people are on this wagon. And Prince mentioned this a second ago. Auburn should have started Robbie at the beginning of the year and built off what he did last year. Teresa kind of expanded on that. I think this was a little prior, but you get the premise. The fact that Robbie in last year's pitiful offense had so many more yards shows he can move the ball. If we have last year's yards in these games, we win unless we are fumbling in the red zone. So, guys,
Are we ready to start talking about how Brian Harsin had a better offense than first-year Hugh Freeze?
No.
All right. Well, Mike G has done the math.
Yeah,
Auburn is projected to have the worst offense they've had in 25 years.
I'm aware, and I've looked at the numbers too, and I get it. But
Thorne's on pace to throw for less yards in more games than Robbie Ashford did last year.
But look, I get it. And there's another comment we're gonna get to here in just a second that's gonna kind of play into this, guys. You had to go portal shopping for a quarterback. This is not like Robbie Ashford's not a franchise quarterback. He's not an NFL player. Like let's calm down now. And he's not even a 4-year serviceable starter. Like I personally am taking let's give me an average quarterback. How about Hudson Mason over 4 years, like a game manager? Not like he's not consistent enough. You know what I mean? Like I just offended Dylan, John.
Did you just pulled out a Georgia quarterback?
Yeah, like an ultimate game manager.
Your Georgia trutherism is just
my favorite team every week other than Auburn is whoever's playing Georgia. Anyways, but no, like a consistent game. Okay, like give me an example.
White.
Yeah, a Sean White. Yeah, a game manager just made of glass. Like
And can't fly.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like I don't know, Daniel. I'm not crazy. Like you had to go portal shop. Like it's not like you had the guy, right?
No, you didn't. You didn't have the guy. I mean, you had the portal shop. Even if it had ended up being Ashford, just going through a quarterback battle, I feel like it's always good for a quarterback, more often than not. Unless you have a guy like, a Bryce Young. Excuse me. That competition there in the summer, I feel like that's good so they don't get complacent.
Yeah, agree. And here's an interesting one. James Barnett said the problem with like the Robbie principle, right, is that fans don't think Robbie can get it done. Criticize him if one play doesn't work as if no one else makes mistakes. That's a fact. I don't know that it is. I'm just going to be honest, James. I'm just going to have to respectfully disagree here. I'm only pulling the comment down so you can see John and Daniel's faces. I don't necessarily know that narrative has a ton of teeth. I think a lot of fans. Now I know, of course, you think that.
No, I know. I got added on Twitter as soon as that first drive ended in Robbie got a first down, and the next set of downs that went 3 and out on the next, and the guy went, "Oh, Robbie Ashford didn't work, did it?" Like you can't blame him for when drives don't go right. I mean, the play calling, Robbie doesn't call the plays. Thorne doesn't call the plays. Someone else is calling the plays. That you can't. People tend to blame. A lot of people blame Robbie Ashford for last year.
Yeah, that's a wild narrative. But I just think this whole like the fans are against Robbie narrative is wild. And let me tell you why. I'm going to go on a tangent here, John. Daniel, buckle up. I'm sorry. When things don't go well for your favorite sports team, you find people to point blame at. And you should. Sure. I get that. The quarterback, John mentioned this a minute ago. I agree. One of, if not the most important position in all of sports.
Blindside blocker. Would like a word.
Right. But you get what I mean. You are the face of a team, whether you want to be or not. You are what people are going to define as the success of the team, whether that's just or not. When things aren't going well, people are going to point blame. And then people are going to start pointing fingers at each other about, oh, I know why we're wrong, why we're not winning games, and you don't know why we're not winning games. But I think I know more about why we don't know this. And if you're confused, that's because you should be confused. No one's in those meetings. All right, we have these conversations. We can only break down what we see on the field and the 20 minutes we get of practice and who we think's coming in and what their film looks like. There's only so much we can talk about. And this crazy-ass narrative that people are just not, like fans in large, are not supportive of Robbie and blame him for last year. Once the cancer is gone, the cancer being Brian Harsin, well, shit, we're still losing games. Who do we blame now? Like there's never going to be a moment where you look and say, we lost that game. Team effort. It's a team sport. And if you think you've said that about an Auburn football loss once in your life, look me dead in the eye and I'm going to call you a liar. It's a lie. I blame a ref's foot for the Hawks not winning an NBA championship. All right, I'll say it. I'm absurd, and so are you.
I will say back to the transfer quarterback. I also agree that Auburn should get a transfer quarterback, but I think Freeze waited too long. If you're going to get a transfer portal quarterback, you don't get the bottom feeders of the spring window.
Basket. You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
You cannot. I'm about to say you can, but you can't wait until spring to start doing that. We had a chance at Devin Leary. We had a chance at. I'm trying to think of all the transfer portal guys around the SEC. Graham Mertz hasn't played bad, which shocks the world. Mostly me, but mostly the world as well. It's the universe is shocked that Graham Mertz is actually playing like a competent quarterback. Like this what's going on? But you wait until spring training's over, and what's spring practice? That's your quarterback battles. You are just the guys who lose the quarterback battles are typically the ones that enter the portal in the spring. And I'd say Thorne didn't. I don't think Peyton Thorne even was in participating in the quarterback battle. He just kind of transferred out because I guess he realized that was a sinking ship at Michigan State.
Yeah, he might have known something that we didn't know yet.
Yeah, but you can't wait until spring to get your guy at quarterback. I don't think I can name a single team off the top of my head who got a quarterback late and they were like, "Oh, this guy's the dude."
I mean, sure. I mean, I don't think you're wrong in that regard, but at the same time, you still didn't have the guy on your roster. Guys, I know, I get it. I know you want to see Robbie Ashford. I know a lot of you do, and I understand. John, Daniel, answer me this right now, yes or no? You start Robbie Ashford. Can you guarantee me you win the Georgia game?
No.
You start Robbie Ashford. Can you guarantee me you don't lose the Cal game?
Yeah.
Dylan can. Can y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't lose the Cal game. You start Robbie Ashford. Guarantee me you win the A&M game?
No.
Guarantee me you win you win or compete in the LSU game?
Definitely not.
You guarantee me?
I don't know. Robbie played very well.
No, you don't get to say that in a blowout. No,
I don't know. I don't think it's a win. I don't think it's a 30-point loss.
Okay. I did say, to be fair, compete. Can you guarantee me you win yesterday?
Yes.
That is bullshit. No, you can't.
You do something different. I think, honestly, I'm going to change my answer real quick. I think this game is way more winnable if you play one guy at quarterback. I don't even care if it's Peyton Thorne. I think this game is way more winnable if you just play one quarterback.
Yeah. Sure. I'll get on board with that.
Robbie plays the exact offensive scheme that Hugh Freeze has been preaching about. He wants to run the RPO. Thorne, not an RPO guy. Robbie is. But here's the thing. He even acknowledges that Robbie's an RPO quarterback. Why are we not running the RPO with Robbie? Why are we putting him in for read options?
And that is a great answer, gentlemen, to Prince's question to me. I understand what I'm saying about going to go to portal shopping and things of that nature. Prince said, if you're going to go out and punt the season, what's the point of getting a new quarterback whatsoever? Find someone to build your offense. That's what we kind of got gaslit into thinking this year. Let's be real. Like, gaslighting is probably the right word. And I think that answers your question, Prince. Is you want to still make it look like you're competing and you want to try to install your system, right? Like, you want to come show your system, which John has mentioned time and time again. Daniel has mentioned. Dylan has mentioned. I think everyone here has mentioned. There's been no install, by the way. It is going into week 9 of the college football season with no install. But you had to go get someone and be like, hey, we're trying. You know what I mean? Is that wrong? Am I being crazy? Am I overreacting?
No, you make perfect. I'm just in shock and awe of everything. If you're going to self-proclaim yourself as an offensive mind and a quarterback guru, how about you develop a quarterback? A veteran quarterback can be developed still, and I know you only had a fall camp, but you come out into the press conferences, and this is not me just saying that I want Hugh Freeze gone. That is not what I'm saying whatsoever. I want Philip Montgomery gone. I've been very vocal about me wanting.
I also want Hugh Freeze to take ownership.
Exactly. I want him to admit that I've gotten some things wrong. I don't like how he comes about saying that. Yeah, we're not winning because we don't have the dudes that I want yet. That's basically what he is saying.
Okay, that goes into the next narrative I want to ask exclusively Daniel and John about, because it's been a lot of me and you as the past few minutes. All right, I want to exclusively ask Daniel and John about this, and I'm going to do while Daniel, when you were speaking a minute ago, I was kind of rolling through questions. I'm going to kind of pose this narrative that I didn't really realize was a narrative until today when I went on Twitter. That a lot of, I think, Auburn fans are kind of bonding over, and John, I want you and Daniel to kind of have some discourse over this. There is an interesting perspective and perception that Auburn fans seem to believe that Hugh Freeze, like Dylan just mentioned, is kind of riding I don't have my guys yet, so be patient with me. So therefore, in turn, there's more concentration on recruiting than there is installing game plans. Is that a reasonable narrative? Why would fans think that? And how do you defend that if that's the case as a coach?
I don't. Yeah, I definitely think he is kind of doing that more than I would like to see, because the Georgia game and really A&M, Georgia, and Ole Miss, like, you can only blame the talent gap so much. There are mistakes you made in each of those games, that could have been fixed and could have led to something else happening. I do like that it gets some recruiting. It's just, but after the last 10 years, it's just nice to see anyone recruiting. I'm not ever really going to fault somebody for recruiting, particularly if it's legal recruiting. It's what you got to do to win. And if he's recruiting, I have trouble. I would not tell a coach that you are spending too much time recruiting, because that's what Brian Harsin told his assistants. And yeah. What was the last
Well, they
part
weren't
of that
game
question?
planning either, so
Yeah, no, I don't know what they were doing all day.
John, just kind of expand on this for me here. There is like an element, and Teresa, I'm not calling you out. I want you to know how much we appreciate you, but kind of talking about spending a little less time on the recruiting trail. Not giving up on recruiting, but maybe back off once you have a top class, because then Auburn sells, itself better. Maybe she's just hopeful that it gets better. I've seen a lot of people, and Teresa, I'm not singling you out. There's a lot of people on Twitter right now saying that Hugh Freeze is spending too much time recruiting and kind of putting all his eggs in the "it'll get better" basket, kind of just preaching that because his track record does precede him. How do you defend yourself as a coach there, and how realistic or not is that narrative?
See, for me, it's really hard if I'm going to be like, for me to be Hugh Freeze and defend what he's doing of, whether it's a 50-50 split of recruiting and install, or it's a 75-25, whatever it is. I have a hard time of defending Hugh Freeze for saying like, oh, we're not playing well or we're not winning games because I don't have my guys in. And again, you guys use a lot of examples of Auburn because this is that school you went to. It's a team that you either grew up watching or something like that. I am going to go back to my school. That's what I'm familiar with. We didn't have Clay Helton's guys last season. We couldn't even come close. We went from a triple option wishbone offense to a complete Mike Leach style air raid, and we went bowling. We went from, I think it was 3 wins the first year that year before to bowling, and never once was there this fault of, well, we lost this game against UAB just because, we don't have my guys here, right? My offensive linemen aren't the pass protecting guys that I want. I don't have the deep threat wide receivers that I've asked for. I got a quarterback that's a 6-year guy, but, he's not the quarterback that I want to develop over the next couple years. I do think you have that right now on our bench. That's just a side note. But to me, it's hard to defend Hugh Freeze of saying like, we're not performing well or at the standard that we want to perform at because we don't have the guys, because I have to go out and recruit them, because I've seen it firsthand what it looks like to, yes, not have the guys per se, but they're still playing at a good level. They're still playing at a high level. I understand it's a different competition. Sunbelt and the SEC, very, very different in terms of their talent levels. I'm not naive or stupid to that. But there's no excuse why you can't be an effective recruiter and make that a primary goal of your staff and your team, but also not be competitive and install and do these things on the field.
Yeah, it's patience as a virtue as a fan, but at the same time, you do have to be able to have a concrete, in my opinion, Dylan, at least answer. At least have your pre-drafted response about when I'm asked about this. This is how we can tell people what we're doing and how we're going about this, so that we don't feel like anybody's being left in the dark. The board of trustees and the boosters don't feel like they're being left in the dark. And honestly, those are the only people who matter. Sorry, guys, those literally are his bosses, so it does not matter. I guess the athletic director John Cohen can be responsive in that regard. Prince mentioned Teresa and said better recruits won't make a difference if the game plan isn't better. Yes and no. I do think that I understand the premise of this argument. I understand the premise of, if you're not going to actually install what we keep saying, that's the buzzword today is install, right? Is if you don't actually install what you're trying to implement, then it doesn't matter if you have the guys or not. I've seen some really, really talented teams offensively with just like the talent they have execute pretty shitty game plans and win a lot of football games. What'd you say?
I was going to say A&M, but you said win games. So I'm going to retract what I said.
I was actually going to say Michigan. Yeah. Not this year. They're actually really good this year. But in the past, we've seen Harbaugh-led Michigan teams kind of do that procedure. I think that what I'm getting here, guys, is just a lot of people very, very frustrated with the fact that there's not tangible results yet, and we knew that wasn't going to happen, and that's okay.
What we expected is happening, but the effort that's getting put in by the coaching staff
it's not up to par.
Yeah, if we were like losing games by like, I'm not gonna say 10 because we lost by 7, but if I'm saying we lost by 14 last night. That garbage, I don't count garbage time touchdowns. It's on the score sheet. It's on the graphic. But mentally, you were checked out once you went down 14. That's when I looked at that game and I was like, it's insurmountable. I just think if you're going to actively give hope to a fan base that just went through 2 years of a guy who didn't want to recruit and you want to go heavy on recruiting, that's fine. But don't come out and say in press conferences after games and just say that you don't have the guys right now. You went out and recruited these guys, most of these guys who you're hoping can contribute. I mean, the best players on this team right now aren't Freeze recruits, aren't Freeze transfers. They're Harsin recruits and Harsin transfers. You went out and got Shane Hooks. You went out and got Valdo. You went out and got Gunnar Britton and Dylan Wade and Avery Jones. You went out and got Peyton Thorne. You went out and got Justin Rogers, who he had a decent game. But Freeze isn't coaching him like he's coaching the other guys I mentioned. Offense, you're getting production from Damari Alston. You're getting production from last night, Darquez Hunter. Robbie Ashford had some moments where he can lead the offense very well, a Harsin guy. And Jay Fair, I think I mentioned Jay Fair, but Jay Fair has been having an awesome season. And that was a guy who was scouted and recruited by a walking potato. You can't come out and say that these transfers that you brought in are going to be these big-time guys. And then after you've already lost 4 in a row because your offense is playing well, you can't say we don't have the guys right now. You brought those guys in who were supposed to be game-changing guys from last year. Statistically, we are a worse offense than we were last year, and we had a better transfer portal class. You bring in guys who you are saying are going to lead Auburn to win some games we're not supposed to. We're going to compete this year, and then you come out and say, "Well, we don't have the guys we want to." Yeah, y'all got to be patient. Y'all can't try to rush expectations, which I completely agree with. But also, year one of a coach is year one in 2023. Being the first year head coach is different than being the first year head coach in 2010. You have more access to utilities that you don't. You have NIL. You have the transfer portal being what it is. You can build a championship program in 2 to 3 years using those utilities. If you are going to come out and say these, you have to come up with better reasonings than what you're saying. You can put the blame on yourself. You can absolutely do that. You can just say the game plan isn't there, and he did that. But also, he said for the 4th week in a row. I heard Hugh Freeze say, we need to look at this offense and reevaluate some things.
How many times can you reevaluate?
Exactly. How many times can you reevaluate before you can just admit to yourself that there's nothing else to reevaluate? What are you reevaluating? Because I've seen the same crappy offense for 4 weeks in a row. And 5 weeks in a row, and we didn't get to see anything in the bye week. I just didn't hear things that I like. Like, you can't expect that. I know it's year one, and you got to give. I understand patience. We're not gonna win 10 games. I know me and Tarr predicted 10 wins, but we were booging.
10 wins were achievable. Hold on,
we were bugging hard, and again, that's not me saying that I want Hugh Freeze fired. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. I'm just saying that if you're going to be the coach at Auburn, and if you're going to you can't preach about one thing and then 2 weeks later change your mind on it. Stay true to what you want to do at Auburn. And don't use the fact that we we don't have the guys right now as a recruiting strategy. I mean, it can work for some guys, but don't use it as like your main strategy. I mean, I heard
using it and win ball games and be like, hey, you can push us over the hump.
exactly that also works too. I'm trying to remember exactly which recruit said it. I think it was either Ryan Williams, the Bama commit for 2025, or it was one of the guys who Auburn is like on the pivot of, and yeah, it was Ryan Williams. So in my opinion, I do think Auburn can be one of those teams that can win the SEC. They just have to get those players to make those plays. I mean, that makes sense coming from a recruit, but where's he hearing that from?
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously something he's saying it in press conferences.
Yeah.
Like you take ownership to the players that you brought in that aren't working.
Yeah. No, I get that. Latanya Drake said, she added me. That's fine. They got rid of Harsin, got Freeze. They're both doing the same thing. You get Caddy, and he makes miracles happen with those same guys. Make it make sense to me. Okay. I'm going to break this one down because I think this one's an interesting take. Latanya, thank you for leaving your thoughts. We really appreciate you. I'm glad you're hanging out here on the College Loop, but I am going to wholeheartedly disagree. The results are going to feel similar right now. They do feel similar right now. And if your frustration after what you saw against LSU and Ole Miss is 100%, and A&M, and Texas A&M, 100% justified. I want you to know that. You're 100% justified. Brian Harsin did not do a fraction of the what's the word I'm looking for here? Base level work that Hugh Freeze has been able to tangibly produce. They are not the same person. Brian Harsin is an actual incompetent head coach and was when Auburn hired him. Jury out on Hugh Freeze. Now, if we're in the same place in 2 years, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you, Latanya. I want you to know that. But the Caddy comment's weird. I'm going to be real. Caddy had a phenomenal run as an interim head coach at Auburn at the end of last year, and he was the absolute correct guy at the job in a moment where Auburn needed unity, and no one on God's green earth could have united this campus and this fan base the way that Cadillac Williams did, and Auburn football, if and when they return to the top, should look at that as a turning point of how they returned, and they will. He was not ready for a head coaching job. Matter of fact, I don't necessarily know that Cadillac Williams seriously wanted a head coaching job.
But is he ready for an offensive coordinator job?
Yeah, now that is something I want to talk about later this season. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's coming up. On one of the
we were all thinking it. Yes.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been at that point. But I don't know that making the Harsin and Freeze analogy is, if nothing else, it's not good for your mental health. So I wouldn't
give it at least to the end of 2024 before we start comparing production of coaches. Give them the same timetable.
Right. And Prince also mentioned the only game that wasn't winnable was the LSU game, correct? Because the effort was flat, but could have been A&M, Georgia, and Ole Miss with competent offense. 100% agree. Let's take a look here. And James and Prince have kind of been going back and forth. I think everybody's been kind of talking about understandable losses and things that they can kind of grasp and understand. Ant Robinson said, every year Auburn has a great defense. Our offense is non-existent. And as a fan base, we see the potential, but the coaches don't. I mean, the second part might be right. Like, we're all pretty good armchair quarterbacks, if I may say so myself.
If Freeze only hear me through the TV, he would win every game if he just heard the plays that I want him to play.
If he received the same text messages that I receive from John Conley every game, Auburn would be undefeated. I'm just throwing that out there.
To that point, I mean,
Daniel,
I'm trying to think of years. 2013, Auburn went to that championship with a great offense and a pretty meh defense. Same thing for 2010.
AJ Rivera, friend of the program, friend of ours for several years now, was about to hop on a flight. This was a while ago, so hopefully he's having a safe flight. He said to watch the episode tomorrow. Main question: how hot is Philip Montgomery's seat? How hot is it?
Well, I'm going to use an analogy from my favorite book, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Can't recommend this enough. Such a great read. But George and Harold put a tack on Mr. Krupp, also known as Captain Underpants, his chair in his office. So I think there's a tack on Philip Montgomery's seat.
I would just say it's there are places in hell that are cooler than his seat.
Yeah, but was that as funny as what I said?
That's true.
It's more truthful.
Conley, you're gonna like this one. You're gonna like this one. I think you're gonna like this analogy, and I want you to find a way to spin zone it and make me believe. Nick Saban lost Louisiana Monroe in his first year, and you didn't hear him say he didn't have the players.
Well, listen, Nick Saban. I think his track record speaks for itself. I don't really think I need to go, but he's absolutely right. I mean, there shouldn't have really been a reason when you're Alabama in 2007, you shouldn't have lost to UL Monroe. Most schools, to be quite frank, shouldn't lose to UL Monroe. Auburn plays them next year, so we'll see. But
there's no way that can't be right. We played them.
It's one of their 3 scheduled right now non-cons.
Oh.
Yeah, they're still an open spot though, I believe.
Yeah, there's still one more. There's 11 games scheduled for next season.
My.
But you do play the Warhawks. Southern actually played the Warhawks yesterday. But I mean, no, there's no reason. I think to me, not having the guys, to me, is just not a good excuse. It's just not a good enough excuse. Regardless of what it is. And yes, you might just, first year, you're not going to have the guys. And that's so true. And eventually when you do bring your dudes in and see what happens, that's going to be great. But for me, when you have the pedigree and you have the reputation and you have kind of the track record that you should have, that you do have, then not having the guys, to me, is just not a good enough excuse.
100%. I think that's the kind of the recurring theme. I think Auburn fans are just sick and tired of hearing we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. And there's a great comment that I totally just buried on accident. Oh yeah, from Cryptic. What says Auburn fans have been spoiled with first year success. With the way the Potato Man buried this program 3 to 4 years, it's going to take some time.
I don't think we've been spoiled with first year success. We had the Gus Malzahn year, and that was
an awesome start to the Harsin tenure, and it was all downhill from there.
And Gene Chizik was year 2, but he literally found a superhero. Gus Malzahn found a superhero and told Gene Chizik to give him an offer we could win a championship. The thing is with Auburn, first year success, sure, I'm not really expecting it. I'm expecting at least 8-4. That's not at least, at most 8-4. But for a program who is the top 15 program in college football history, and just athletic program who ranks that high in general, I don't think you can ever use the "we're not talented enough" excuse. I don't think you can. This team should rival Ole Miss in talent. Like that last night should have happened.
Right now. And it should exceed.
The next 4 opponents. The next 4 opponents, Auburn is more talented than. And I'd venture to say one of them way more talented than New Mexico State. You have the dudes to win games that you shouldn't. And we're not. We're not winning those games.
So what do? What does the coaching staff do? They come up with excuses. What do fans do? They'll point at someone to point blame. Because that's how it works. That's how the world works. It works in every situation, whether that be in sports, in my office job. I get it. I mean, we've all pointed a finger at our boss before and been like, "You could have told me better." You know what I mean? Same concept. Yeah. So it's
the people with the headsets. That's who you got to point at. Right. People with the headsets. Except the backups they're calling the plays.
I'm gonna speed run the last 3 that I got tagged in, unless there's another one I just missed. And I have no problem with you guys asking me questions. These are all really good questions. I don't want you to think I'm getting defensive. I'm just gonna speed run them. Gonna go way back in the conversation. James Barnett said that he agreed with my statement about Hugh Freeze needing to wear this one square on the chin. John and I have talked about this one, and kind of this whole room is that's been the theme for the past hour and a half. Is that this loss specifically on Saturday has got to sit squarely on the shoulders of Hugh Freeze. He can. James Barnett said he can solve all this by overriding his OC with obvious changes to play calling and rotations of players. I think that a lot of people. As opposed to just pointing fingers at specific parts of this game, I think you can help your mental a little bit more by saying, "All right, Hugh, we are expecting you to be accountable." I think that's a good starting point. that Auburn fans can do so rather than just pointing fingers. It's better for your mental health. I found it works better for me.
Every play Montgomery called last night got filtered through Hugh Freeze. So
correct, and that's why I think everyone's in agreement. You wear that one on your chin if you're Hugh, and you have to. Teresa, this is referring to Robbie, asking if Robbie could be the guy if Hugh Freeze was being the QB developer he has been in the past. I think Robbie's way too late in his developmental period. I'm just going to be transparent.
He's a sophomore.
Yeah, he's like a year or two younger than us. He's 2 years younger than us.
Class 2020.
High school class?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt sophomore. Yeah, still no. Doesn't change anything.
What about Bo Nix?
Especially not in one offseason.
Bo Nix was a sophomore, and then he went to Oregon and got developed as a junior.
Bo Nix played 3 seasons of football before he went to Oregon. You're just bullshitting now, dude. He was not a sophomore. You're not even close.
2019, 2020. 2020. He played 3 seasons of football. That's the same amount as Robbie. And he went to Oregon and got developed.
Yeah, but I don't think – stop getting defensive about your boy. I'm just saying he's not been around Hugh long enough. You can't –
What you said is he's too late in his –
I do think he's still too late in his developmental period. Just be transparent. I do. I think you would have already seen definitive steps at practice. But hell, who knows? Maybe they're not even watching him at practice. Maybe he's just hanging out in the locker room.
I don't think the coaches are at practice. I think they're just –
That's right.
I'll do your thing.
This is my last tagged one real quick. James said most of the Auburn content that we listen to has a good portion of listeners rooting against Robbie. I'm not saying you're wrong. I can only go by what I say. Still love you, though. Love you, man. Hey, look, not everyone's going to agree with me. You don't all have to be right. That's all right. No, I'm kidding. I'm not a Robbie Ashford hater. I really am. And John Conley and I talk about this all the time. Daniel joins in. Dylan's not on this wave because Dylan wants the quarterback that can help Auburn succeed the most to be Robbie Ashford. The 3 rest of us in here just want a quarterback to play competent football and the best player, whoever gives Auburn the best chance to win. If that's Robbie Ashford, I'm over the moon excited for him. Kid plays with a ton of talent. Teresa said, people in here saying it's not too late for Thorne. Who the hell? Not me. I'm sure as hell not saying it's not too late for Thorne. Teresa, it was too late for Thorne and Samford for me.
UMass almost.
Yeah, shit. I mean, I'm not getting defensive, but shit, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. You know that song? Wasn't me. Like that. Play that right. Cue it right now, Daniel. Teresa, I'm going to come back to one of your mentions real quick. Oh my God, we're back on the Robbie conversation, guys. Can we not do this? Oh my God. No, we're coming back to this one, Teresa.
You did this to yourself. I
was just answering freaking questions, man. We're coming back to that last one for Teresa. That's going last, so we can talk nicely about the seniors. Robbie has only played 1 real season. He hasn't been in the same offense for more than 1 season. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't know how to change that.
You know who else hasn't been in the same offense for more than 1 season until he transferred to Oregon?
He was under the same head coach for a couple of those.
Yeah, and Robbie Ashford had Potato Man.
Quit making an analogy about Robbie Ashford to Heisman candidate Bo Nix. Just because Auburn fumbled that bag doesn't mean you have to manifest shit, dude. I'm not going.
It fits. The narrative
doesn't. The narrative
yes,
doesn't.
It does. Yes, it does.
Okay, Bo Nix is infinitely more talented at quarterback than Robbie Ashford ever will be.
How do we know that? Under what pre-context? The fact that they fit the mold.
Robbie had to leave his first school because he couldn't play. Might be start one.
Yeah, and he transferred, and he came to Auburn and then get developed. And he hasn't been developed.
Next transfer. Oh, maybe because Potato Man ran him out of town.
He didn't get developed. Another fan base ran him out of town.
I don't love this analogy.
Since we're an hour and a half in here, I'm going to nip the button this. Y'all can talk about this later. Let's keep this rolling.
Thank you. I feel like Hugh's going to die on that hill for Thorne. Doesn't want to be wrong. And yeah, that's a take. You're probably right. I think there's probably something. There's probably some validity to that, to be completely honest.
There's a lot of validity to that.
Yeah.
We see it on the field every single week.
We can give Carson Myers a shot, see how he's doing from fall ball.
That's right.
Bring him forward.
What changes do you think Coach Hugh Freeze will make on the offensive side of the ball? I'm going to answer this one on behalf of all of us. From what we've been shown, not a damn thing. That's where I'm at. What else did you start, Dylan? I'm not fighting people anymore. Thank you, Teresa, for having such a kind comment that we can end on. I love all of you guys so much. I really do.
She added you again.
Mother freaker, dude. Talking about if Thorne, I don't have time for this, guys. I don't want to talk about Robbie anymore. If Thorne can be developed by Coach Fusion when he gets here as a senior with a cover year, why can't Robbie as a redshirt sophomore? Oh, Teresa, I don't think Thorne is developed at all. I think Thorne stinks. Just being transparent. And then she also follows that up by saying, may at least try. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, at least try to develop them. Yeah, you should. We're ending on this. This is the last one. I'm done. I'm tired. I love all you guys so much. It's been an hour 35. I just got home right before the show and would like to eat some dinner. Teresa mentioned that the seniors really deserve to have the best year they can after all they've been through, especially the ones who were freshman recruits by Gus. They need a winning year. Oh my God, what a freaking ride this group of seniors has been through. And I just want to throw it out there. We are wishing them the best success because holy shit, they are.
Yeah, especially some of the guys who were brought in and transfers in with 1 year of eligibility left.
Yes.
Shane Hooks was committed to Ole Miss and then flipped his transfer commitment to the Auburn Tigers and then never gets used in games where he should. So huge respect to him for not – he should see if he can get a red shirt. I don't think he's played – I just haven't seen him in 4 games this year.
No, he's definitely played in 4 games. Poor dude's already screwed himself on that one. All right, folks. John Conley, tell everybody where they can find you. Love you, support you. Thank you so much for coming on the postgame show, dude. Good to see you as always.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. You can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at JohnLee49. Currently, I am Mr. 7-3, John Conley on there. We'll see how long that stays. But, yeah, you can find me on any social media platform at JohnLee49. Come interact, hang out, have a good time.
Yes, sir. Daniel Locke, tell everybody they can find you. Love you and support you.
Almost knocked over my mic there. You can find me on X or Twitter at Daniel J. Locke right there. Right there below my name. You can catch my written work at 1819 News for the Auburn Daily or for Braves Today. If you want some book recommendations to see pictures of my life or anything else, follow me on Instagram at ddaniellocke.
There you go. I am at Harrison Tarr, at Beyersdorf, the Bird app, and on Instagram if you guys want to come hang out on any of my socials, if you feel so inclined. Certainly appreciate that. I appreciate everybody that hopped in this stream and gave us really, really good feedback. This was the most conversational post-game stream we've ever had, and I want to make them more like this every single week. I'd like for us to be able to come in and this all be unscripted. And you guys, we could have done that today. So thank you guys so much for your ongoing support. You guys are the absolute best following in all of sports, period. We have the best listeners ever, and you can't change my mind. Love you all, even those of us who may not always butt heads, who we may butt heads. I want you to know how much we appreciate you because you guys are the reason we can do all this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell right here on the College Loop so you can stay up to date with everything we have coming out. Busy around here. Football season's got us up to our eyeballs.
Basketball season soon.
Yeah, basketball season's right around the corner, and it's going to be a ride. I'm excited for that as well. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. If you want to go purchase the College Loop Feeling Loopy shirt, co-branded with the War Report, that description is in the bio. You can also go that link is in our description. My apologies. Use hashtag Feeling Loopy after you purchase your shirt and throw that up on the Bird app. We'll make sure we'll put it up on the next stream. You guys rock. I love every single one of you guys, no matter how heated I got. Dylan, tell everybody where to find us, love us, and support us. Love you guys. All you loopers are the best.
Yep. And James, I know you said you're going to buy yourself a Feeling Loopy shirt. Once you get it, don't forget, put it up on social media at hashtag Feeling Loopy, and we'll find you and put it up on the show. And also, if you didn't do it, it's too late, but we're going to be finding the guy or this is the person in general who got the correct prediction, but a lot of y'all picked Auburn to win. So I don't know if we'll have one this week. Strictly because of those reasons and those reasons alone. But of course, I am Dylan Larck at you boy the tank on Twitter/X. It's just right there at YABOY the tank. Also come on Instagram at Dylan Larck at DYLANLERCK. And of course, you have us right here on the College Loop, where you can find us literally everywhere: Twitter/X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. TikTok is kind of doesn't get utilized as much, but we're there, so why not go like some of our other older videos that we have on there. And, of course, you have us right here on YouTube, where you should like, comment, subscribe. We'll have an episode up on Tuesday at 8:30, pre-recorded. But I still try to be in the chat whenever I can to kind of talk to y'all and kind of see what y'all agree with that we said and what y'all don't. And, of course, if you're tired of seeing our faces, completely understand. Look at Tarr. Ugh. Yeah, I wouldn't want to look at him either when he's talking about Auburn football. But you can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. And, of course, with everything being said, this has been the College Loop post-game review for that game that happened yesterday.